We got breaking news out of the NFL where the Minnesota Vikings have hired their new general manager. They're now hiring Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who had been the vice president of football operations with the Cleveland Browns the past 2 seasons, but been part of the organization since 2000. This is him actually walking out of Minnesota's facility there. He'll replace longtime general manager Rick Spielman in Minnesota. The hiring leaves only one more vacancy when it comes to the GMs. That one, Las Vegas Raiders out there, of course, looking for the replacement for Mike Mayock. All right, let's bring in senior NFL writer Jonathan Jones with this. The reaction to the Vikings landed GM not moments ago.
Yeah, this has been expected. Had been told on Saturday that Kwesi was probably going to be the guy in Minnesota, as they had narrowed their finalists down to 2. It was between Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the Browns executive, and Ryan Poles, the former Chiefs executive, who as recently as yesterday was installed as the next Chicago Bears general manager. One would think maybe that, oh, well, they were down to 2 and the Bears inked Ryan Poles, so it's Kwesi by default. I was told that on Saturday that Kwesi was the leading candidate there in Minnesota, so I'm not entirely certain that what happened in Chicago really had any bearing on ultimately what happened here in Minnesota. But Kwesi brings with him a wealth of experience both in football and outside of football. He was a commodities trader on Wall Street. He played a little bit of basketball at Princeton, though not, walking very many minutes or any minutes at all, really. But he has that background, an Ivy League background, commodities trader again. He has an analytics background. He worked in San Francisco before jumping over to the Cleveland Browns, and he's really been one of the 2 right-hand men of General Manager Andrew Berry. Both he and Glenn Cook, an executive there, who got any number of opportunities to interview around the league in the past couple of weeks. And so part of Andrew Berry's brain trust now leaving. You can say he has that analytics background. Maybe the nerds are taking over, Brandon. This is a big win for the analytics community, but he now takes over, of course, in Minnesota.
So Mensah taking over there, as you mentioned, a wealth of knowledge in the NFL as well the past couple of years with Cleveland. Now the next step is to hire a head coach. You actually tweeted about this yesterday and have been talking about it for a while. Who's next in line for that HC there in Minnesota in your eyes?
Well, if you want to connect the dots, and this is what someone in the league told me very late on Monday night. Now, hey, DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers, could very well wind up being with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. They, of course, worked together in San Francisco back when Kwesi was there. He's a hot name, of course, what he has been able to do and put together with this 49ers defense here this past season. It's obviously a factory there under Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh getting the New York Jets head coaching job after being the defensive coordinator of the Niners. But also you look at the Minnesota Vikings and their history. They had Mike Tomlin in their building as defensive coordinator, let him go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we all know what he's been able to accomplish in the last decade and a half. They had Tony Dungy in their building years and years ago, let him go outside of their building, and we know, of course, that he went on to win a Super Bowl and create another Super Bowl team. So that could be one option there for Kwesi. A lot of times, Brandon, when you bring on a first-time general manager, a younger one, I think he's around 40 years old, what you a lot of times do is get a more veteran head coach. And so the Vikings may be looking for someone with a little more gray in their beard than DeMeco Ryans. But that's what history says. History also says that you don't really bring on a former Ivy League basketball player who was a commodities trader who worked in analytics to be your next general manager. So thinking outside the box there in Minnesota for what is a fantastic general manager and head coaching job.
If we're looking outside of the head coaching search there for Mensah moving forward, looking at this roster, of course, a lot of question marks with Kirk Cousins into the future. What are some of the issues he might have to tackle with this roster to kind of get them in contending? Because the last couple of years, it's been a struggle to at least be in the picture there in Minnesota.
Yeah, and they're right outside the picture, right? And they have been with Mike Zimmer at the helm, and ultimately his coaching style just got a little stale there. I think that Kirk Cousins has shown you that you can win with him. You can even win in the playoffs with him, as he did a couple of years ago in the Superdome against the New Orleans Saints. But, he's entering a contract year where he's due something around $35 million. He has a cap hit of $45 million. So you're obviously going to have to massage that a little bit. Are you going to want to trade Kirk Cousins? Maybe. I don't know who's going to be taking on that sizable contract. The point being that you do have a quarterback, whether you love Kirk Cousins or not, that you can win 8, 9, 10 games with, get into the playoffs. You look at the NFC North, and if Aaron Rodgers ultimately leaves Green Bay, that division is going to be very, very wide open. You look at how the defense probably needed a little bit more pass rush, and the back end let Mike Zimmer down. They were trying any number of things and really devoted a lot of resources there the last couple of years to the defensive backfield and just couldn't really get it right back there. But the offensive line, pieced together through the draft and free agency, held up decently well. You have Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, a top 5 running back in the NFL, a guy who, even when he's injured, is still out there playing and playing like a top 5 running back. So this has been an attractive job, I think. With the executives and coaches, agents that I have surveyed over the past couple of weeks, almost everyone has put it in the top 2 or 3. We can differ on how we feel about the Denver Broncos, for example, or the Chicago Bears, but everyone that I spoke with that I can remember all had the Minnesota Vikings certainly up there, and it looks even better, as I mentioned, Brandon, if and when that division opens up with an Aaron Rodgers departure.
We'll see how that happens for the Packers. And also now Minnesota finding their new general manager, Jonathan Jones, there tapping on the breaking news. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the new GM there with the Vikings. Appreciate your time, JJ. Don't forget the guys in the Pick 6 podcast. They'll probably be breaking this down, as well as also looking towards those championship games this weekend. We're down to 4. We'll get to 2. Download and give Will Brinson and the crew a follow.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.